Hi there, my name is Jonathan Lamm. I am a cousin of Sarah Lamm Dretch, and we're going to be learning Perek Nunva, that's the 56th Perek of Tehillim, Le'ilui Nishmas Sarah, Le'ilui Nishmas Sarivka, Basar of Nachum V'Mindel. I'd like to begin by giving you the first line of this Perek. Lamm natseach ayonat elim rechokim l'David michtam echos otam plishtim bagat. This is a Tehillim. This is for the translation I have is for the musician concerning David, the dove of silence. Yonat elim. I'm not going to get into that. I don't know. I think it would take a lot longer to kind of go into what that allegory is with the Yonah. But he's basically giving this introduction of what's going on. It says that it's by David when he's being held by the plishtim in Gat. So, we don't necessarily often have some sort of historical reference, perhaps in every Perek of Tehillim, but here we do. We actually get to know what was going on either at the time that David wrote this Perek, or at least when he was referring back to it. So, let's just take a look real quick in Shmuel Aleph and see what was going on. So, in Perek Chaf of Shmuel Aleph is the Perek that we read as a Haftorah on Erev Rosh Chodesh, the story of David and Yonasan, where Yonasan really discovers and is pretty much ensured that his father Shaul really wants David gone. And he meets up with David and he says, listen, it's not safe for you, you should get out of here. So David leaves and he stops off, picks up some provisions at the beginning of Perek Chaf Aleph. And at the end of Perek Chaf Aleph, he goes to Gat, which is a Plishti city. And the king over there is King Achish. And when he's over there, he thinks he's it's got to be a pretty dire situation if David, who's kind of known for killing Plishtim, goes to escape and flees to the Plishtim. But, unfortunately, the Plishtim recognize him. And they pick him up, and they bring him over to Achish. And they say, the way they describe him to Achish is, Saul, Shaul, he says, Hika Shaul be'alafav, that Shaul killed thousands of us. David killed 10,000. So this is this guy that we're bringing, the guy that we're trying to, that's living in our land, is responsible for the deaths of lots of us. And they bring him to Achish, and how does David get out of it? He feigns being a madman. He starts drooling. It talks about him scratching on the wall. He's got saliva in his beard. Kind of really interesting picture of David HaMelech. And Achish says, what are you talking about? This guy is no threat. I don't know what you're talking about. They let him go. David escapes and starts to kind of build up his following. But at some point, so at the beginning, it says, of the Perek back to Tehillim is that he wrote this, or again, he's referring to the time where he was being held by the Plishtim. So it's this, I'm kind of imagining maybe they pick him up on the road and they're on their way to Achish's palace, and David is kind of scared. And that's kind of the beginning. The first couple of psukim of the Perek talks about how all their people basically from Bnei Israel, from Shaul's camp that are after him. And now he's got people from the Plishtim that are after him. Anywhere he's go, he's just a marked man. And he sets this up saying, basically I'm really in trouble. And in the fourth pasuk Daled, it says, Yom Ira, on the day of which I am most afraid, Ani Elecha Iftach. To you, Hashem, I turn. And that's kind of, so beginning he lays us down with where he is. He's on his way. He's being held by the Plishtim. He talks about how people have been after him. And he says, here I am. I'm really afraid. I'm turning to you, Hashem. Now maybe you would think is when he's going to start asking for things like, let me go. But he goes straight into Belokim Lel Divro. To Hashem I'm going to praise. Belohim Batachti Lo Ira. To Hashem I'm going to put my trust. I don't need to be afraid. Ma Ya'aseh Basarli. What can a human being do to me? Two psukim later, earlier he was talking about how people, how these people wanted to destroy him. So perhaps maybe he's not necessarily yet at that place where he's saying, I am not afraid, but it's kind of like a bit of a pep talk. I know that I owe praise to Hashem. I know that he does good things to me. Why should I be afraid? I know that he's going to be there. And then he goes on And then after this kind of this section of talking about how talking in future tense of how he's going to be praising Hashem and how he's going to put his trust into Hashem, he kind of falls back and begins talking about how there are people in every corner looking, trying to get him. They're scheming to try to catch David. And then again, so there's only after he kind of takes a step back, looking at the dangers that are around him, even after he says, Lo ira, why should I be afraid? Is the one pasuk, the one line that he says that it seems to say he's kind of making a request from Hashem. He says, Al aven palek lamo, for their sins. He's talking about those who are against him. Please expel them. But af amim hored elokim, cast these nations down. And after this, so he said, he kind of he gives this request. He says, for their own sins, bring them down. So it's not even like, do me a favor, God. These guys are bad guys. Can you get rid of them for me? It's they are deserving already of some sort of punishment. How about use that now to help me out? And then he kind of starts to after he throws in his request, he's like, okay. And by the way, he spends the next box. No de safartiata. Know the safarta. All the wanderings that I've been through. All the tribulations that I've been to. Sima dimati bino no decha. Take my tears that I cried throughout all this time. Collect them in a flask for me. Halo bisfartacha. Aren't you keeping track? You know what I've been through. Kind of this pleading. You make the request and say don't I kind of deserve it? After this is kind of, I guess, maybe David's kind of stepping a little forward. He kind of takes a step back and goes back to what he was originally talking about is Belokim ahalel davar, B'Hashem ahalel davar. Is, for God I will praise, in the eternal I will, again, now we're going back to Ehalel, I will provide praise, I will daven to you. So now he's kind of going into this sort of future tense of expecting, and I wouldn't necessarily say expecting in a pretentious kind of way, but it's the idea is that David knows what he's been through. David knows what Hashem is capable of, and perhaps what he's deserving of, and knowing that I know that I'm in a tough spot right now, but Hashem is going to be able to come through. In which case, I'm already going to start talking about how I'm going to be praising Hashem, and how I know that it makes sense for me to put my trust. And again, we have this similar kind of line, Belokim batachti lo ira. In Hashem, I will put my trust. Lo ira. I'm not going to be afraid. So now we have the second lo ira. He's like, you know what? He's kind of stood up perhaps amongst himself and said, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I have good reason not to be afraid. Alai Elokim nidarecha. Ashalem todosacha. I know that I'm gonna get through this, in which case I'm planning on bringing you all these korbanos to say thank you. And then the last pasuk, it says, Ki tzalta nafshi mima, that since you've saved me from death, halo ragli midachi lehitzalech lifnei Elokim be'or hachayim, that you've delivered my soul from death. You've saved me from death in the past. And you've even, halo raglai midachi, not only have you saved me from big things, even some small things like, tripping, right? And then we said, Lihizalech lifnei Elokim, and I hope that I will be able to, walk before you, Hashem, be'or hachayim, in the light, the light of life, which is clearly an allegory to being able to learn Torah and to be able to kind of have this, perhaps a really nice, Jewish life that he probably has having a hard time going through on the run. And I imagine this, perhaps this is some sort of pep talk that David is going through with himself as he's being taken to see Achish, the Melech Plishtim. And that kind of helps build him up and he knows that he's going to be able to get through this with Hashem's help. And so when he gets there, he has this really great plan of pretending to be some crazy guy, and he's able to convince Achish that even if he is David, he's gone crazy, and he gets to go, and he gets off scot-free. So, we could look at it. Did Hashem step in and save the day? Did David save himself? I think that's kind of always the line that we take in terms of our avodas Hashem, is that we go halfway, we put in our work, and hopefully Hashem will put in His work. And that's perhaps just having someone to be able to talk to Hashem at that point gave him the koach to be able to move forward and save himself. So this is a good lesson to ourselves, obviously, in terms of ma ya'asa basarli, what can other people do? Be'elokim eftach, and in Hashem we should have faith, and we should put our trust, and even giving ourselves just a little bit of a pep talk, knowing that Hashem's going to be there for us, will give us the strength, and should continue to give us the strength to endure our own difficulties. Thank you.